What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast. My name is Sam. I'm hosting you guys again. Thanks for tuning in. This week, the guest on our show is Allison Voges. She is a huntress from southern Indiana. She's a published author. She's written children's hunting and outdoor books. And she's also the Indiana chapter president of the American Daughters of Conservation organization. Um, really enjoy this conversation that I have with her, getting to sit down, get to know her a little bit, just talk hunting in general, fishing, catfish noodling. She's big into catfish noodling as well. And I got a little bit of an education on how all that works. I'm not a catfish noodler, and I got to learn some stuff that I didn't know about it. So pretty interesting thing. But hope you guys enjoy this great conversation that we have. She's very passionate about just being in the outdoors, being in nature, getting other people out there and sharing her passion and her obsession for hunting and everything that comes with it. So again, hope you guys enjoy this conversation. But before we get there, Fall Obsession Podcast is brought to you guys by Hoot Camo. Been rocking some Hoot gear since 2023. Last year was our first season to be in it, and I can't say enough about it. I wore it in Colorado. I've worn it in Texas, multiple different environments, warm weather, cold weather, you name it, and it is phenomenal. The durability of the gear is there. The quality and the production is there, and then the patterns themselves are very versatile and adapt to different environments. I noticed that in Colorado was when we were hunting in snow, the grays and the whites that were in these patterns would kind of pop a little bit more and really get drawn out of the pattern. And then when the snow would melt away and we're in, the grasses and the CRP fields and all that kind of stuff, the browns, the grays, the blacks, those would be the colors that were popping more. So did not really even take that into account before that trip, but ever since then, I continue to be impressed and amazed with it. The best part about Hoot Camo is that it is very affordable for the blue collar hunter. And that is if you are looking for a good quality set of camo. Everybody should know that quality gear is an investment. But make your money work the best it can for you and invest in some Hoot Camo. And if you use the code FallObsession15 at checkout, that'll save you guys some money. Hoot also has a bunch of fishing wear, everyday casual wear available on their online store. So go check them out, hootcamo.com. Elite Archery is another Fall Obsession partner. I've been shooting an Elite bow since 2017 and haven't looked back. I've loved every one of them. The Omnia last year was incredible, and I'm looking forward to my Ethos that's on the way, getting that all rigged up and good to go. But if you guys have not shot an Elite bow before or haven't shot one in a long time, technology changes very quickly in the archery industry. Go to your local dealer and take the Elite Shootability Challenge and see what you think. That's the only way that you're going to know if the bow is right for you, is by shooting it. So go to your local dealer, get one in your hand, and see what you think. Elite Archery is the way to go, in my opinion. The Outdoor Call Radio app is also a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV, he created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. You will catch Fall Obsession podcast streaming on that loop on Mondays. That's the same day as our new publications, as well as tons of other hunting shows and podcasts that we all know and love. So go download the Outdoor Call Radio app today. It is free. You can start streaming immediately. And also go follow their Facebook page, and follow Outdoors Dan on social media. He does a couple of different live radio shows every week, and even if you're not local to those Midwestern radio stations that he's on, he shares the live broadcasts on his Facebook, so you guys can catch him from anywhere. So, the Outdoor Call Radio app, go download it, and go follow them on social media, and follow Outdoors Dan. Last but not least, Ridge Rock Hunt Company is also a podcast partner. Derek Eves over there in Mississippi, he books hunts with vetted and trusted outfitters that he has across the country. So if you are looking for that next adventure, perhaps that once-in-a-lifetime hunt that you've been saving up for, then give Derek a call. He'll work with you on all the details and find something that suits you and what you're looking for. Ridge Rock Hunt Company, go check them out. Finally, thank you guys again for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast. Wherever you are streaming this podcast from, be sure that you follow, subscribe, turn the notifications on, all that good stuff, whatever they have available and as an option to you guys. go check out the website, fallobsession.com. We have a ton of awesome content and educational articles, gear reviews, our shows, our podcasts, our apparel, pick you up some swag, all that kind of stuff is on there. And don't forget about the turkey hunt competition. I know we're getting later into the spring and into turkey season, but the competition is still going, especially for you states that have a later season. We're accommodating you. So if you have not killed your bird, if you still have a tag in your pocket, then go to fallobsession.com and register for the hunt. You have a chance to win cash. You can win memberships. We have gear on the line. We're raffling off a hog hunt. Go pick up a raffle ticket. All that kind of stuff is coming with our turkey hunt competition this year, and it's still going on and happening at fallobsession.com. So be sure that you guys go check that out. Follow us on social media. Go subscribe to the YouTube. And with that, I'm done. We're heading over to the episode with Allison. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. I'm Sam, bringing you guys into another new week with us over here at Fall Obsession. My guest this week is Allison Voges. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. I'm so honored that you asked me to be a part of this.
Yeah, super excited to have you on board and have you on the show this week. I want to obviously talk hunting, talk outdoors with you, and get into all that good stuff. But for our listeners that don't know you, take a couple minutes and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm Allison Voges, and I guess, how do I start this off? I've been hunting for several years now. I didn't really grow up hunting, but my father, I grew up tagging along with him on quail hunts, different things like that in southern Indiana. He's more of a small game hunter, so it was all quail hunting back when I was a kid. That and squirrels and stuff like that. Like I said, I would tag along, but then after college, one of the guys I was dating was more into hunting and fishing, and I started tagging along with him, and then realized that I had a true passion for it. So that's how I got started. And yeah, so today I've got I just love being outside in the outdoors. My husband and I have a lawn care business, so I've been doing that for the past 12 years. And aside from that, which gets me outdoors every day, I've also written 2 children's books about hunting, just as a way to try and get more kids involved in the outdoors. So I've written Chasing Deer and Chasing Turkeys, and those have gone really well. I've had a lot of support for that. But yeah, that's basically sums up most of my life right now.
That's awesome. So, and I'll dive in right out of the gate with one thing that you just brought up, and that was your books, and I wanted to talk to you about that. We've never had anybody on our show before that has written children's books, centered around hunting in the outdoors and stuff. So I wanted to ask you what your inspiration and motives were to enter that realm.
So really, what got me started, I've always kind of enjoyed writing. I've done like blogs and stuff in the past, but what happened was I was in Bass Pro, and they have a book section in Bass Pro of children's books. And I was shopping for a friend who was also a hunter, and I wanted to get a baby shower gift. I wanted to include a children's book about hunting. There were zero at Bass Pro at this time. There might be now. But I was like, okay, well, that needs to change. And so that's kind of what inspired me to write these books. So the first book I wrote was Chasing Deer. It's a story about a child's first deer hunt. It's a bow hunting centered book, but that was basically my motivation, was like, Okay, well, hunting's still it's a huge, it's a huge heritage and it's important. And, my mom was a librarian. So when I was growing up, like books were a huge part of my life. And for me, it's a way to open doors, open conversations for a family, and to have with their kids about the outdoors and hunting and things like that. So, um, I wrote it. It was crazy because I'm self-published. So I did it myself. Uh, one of my friends I went to college with, she illustrated the book for me. She's very skilled, but it was kind of funny because she wasn't a hunter growing up. She didn't know anything about hunting. So there was a lot of back and forth where I'm like, okay, well, we need to change this or we have to do
Yeah.
this. And so that was kind of interesting, but she did a fantastic job with the illustrations in this book. And I hid deer tracks in the images. So that way I could kind of like make it interactive
Yeah.
and, just get kids more interested if they're outside and they're like, oh, that's a deer track. Now they know what it is. Um, but yeah, whenever I first came out with this book, uh, I sold 100 copies in the first 2 days, I think, which is
Wow.
just wild to me because I didn't know, how it was. It's kind of a sensitive subject because I mean, it is hunting. There is, you know, they do, in the end, the child does get the deer. So I had to find a way to be sensitive about that. Um, but at the same time, it had huge support, and I made it. Um, I wasn't in it to for the money. I was in it to kind of spread the word and get more people involved. So because of the support I received from the book, I've been able so far to donate over 200 copies to public libraries and schools and daycares and hospitals. And yeah, it's been pretty cool. So
Wow, that is awesome. I have not and I have not read your book. I knew that you wrote them and everything, but I have not read them, and now I'm definitely have to order them for my kids. I have a
I'm gonna
six year
have
old,
to send you a couple copies. You
I
have a 6-year-old?
a 6 year old and a 4 year old, so they would definitely
Oh my
get a
gosh,
kick out of
yes.
it. But yeah, they're
Don't worry, yeah, you'll get a couple of copies. You
so
must. And then you're gonna have to talk about it and be like, Allison's books are awesome. Like, y'all need to get some.
yes, I can definitely tap into a market down here for you for sure.
That'd be great.
So was the deer book came first, and then was
Hmm.
turkeys? Did you write that one? I guess
Yeah,
after the first one was a hit.
I did. So since the first one worked out so well and people were like, what are you gonna write about next? And I was like, okay, so deer is a big one for everybody, and I love deer hunting, but turkey hunting, honestly, is probably one of my favorite species to like, one of my favorite seasons of the year. And although it's difficult to say because whatever season we're in, I'm like, no, this is my favorite season.
Right?
Um, but in Texas, I mean, y'all have great turkey hunting down there. Or from what I've heard.
Oh yeah.
Um, but so what happened was I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna do turkeys next. But I hadn't really, to be honest, it's a lot of work to publish a book, it and I was like, man, I'm not sure if I'm ready to do this again. But I was actually turkey hunting in Kentucky, and uh, I was it started raining and it was pouring. I'm like, well, the turkeys aren't going to be coming out anytime soon. So I went and sat in a blind for a while, and I was bored. I didn't have anything to do. And so I started writing Chasing Turkeys.
Oh
And
wow.
it was perfect then because I literally had been hunting for about a week, and during turkey season. And it just flowed, man. It was just like, I probably wrote that book within the hour, and I didn't make, Chasing Deer, I made a lot of changes and things like that, but Chasing Turkeys just poured out. Um and and that's, yeah, within a couple of months I had it out and
Wow.
available.
That's
So
awesome. Inspired from the field. I like that. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yep, I'm kind of happy for that rain. I didn't get a bird that day, but man, I don't know, I got something better, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know if there's going to be a third book. We'll see. Like I said, it's a lot of work. I'm also kind of into fishing, so I thought about writing one about bass fishing, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, that was going to be my next question, is if you had any plans for anything else. But given what happened with the turkey one, I would imagine that, it's just going to come to you. And that sounds like
Yeah,
it's
I'm
the best
hoping.
case scenario. So,
Yeah, I feel like when the moment strikes, I'll be ready. I also considered like a waterfowl. I'm sure there's going to be more. It's just like when the moment comes and it's time. But yeah.
that's awesome. Very cool. So, on the note of turkeys, one quick
Mhm.
look at your social media, and it looks like y'all have been having a lot of fun this spring. So,
Yeah.
what have y'all gotten into this year?
Well, turkey season is, like I said, one of my favorites. And I mean, you have a 6-year-old. Have, eh, do you have a son? I'm sorry. You
No,
have a
you're fine.
6-year-old?
I have a 6-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter.
Not that it matters because I'm all about taking, either or hunting. But, and in fact, my first book, Chasing Deer, it looks like a boy throughout all the pictures, but in the end it turns out to be a girl, but nobody really knows. I didn't want it to be like, yes, it needs to be about a boy or it needs to be about a girl. I just kind of kept it,
Right.
whatever. But have you taken him hunting yet, or?
We I have so last year was the first year that I ever took him out in the woods with me. And
Okay.
so I hunt on a lease down here with a good friend of mine, and then both of our dads. And I grew up hunting with my dad. That's how I got into it when I was a kid. So last year was pretty cool. He was 5, and that was the first year that I got to get him out there. And my dad always made a point to go with us too. So we had all 3 generations out there last year, and that was the first time that had ever happened. So that was pretty cool. And I took him out there with me, and I primarily bow hunt. So I went out there, I picked a spot where we were going to see deer, but I didn't have any expectations to shoot anything. I just wanted him to have a good experience. And yeah, he loved it. We saw some deer, and he was all excited. He did as good as you would expect a 5-year-old to do. And
Yeah.
so from that point forward, the rest of the season, when he would go with me, my dad and I would kind of split him going with one of us. I'd take him
Yeah.
with me, or my dad would take him a couple times to his stand to let me actually do some real hunting.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun. And he's already asking about this year, and he's ready to go out there and do some preseason work. And yeah, he's got the bug already.
Oh,
So
that's so cool, because you never know if they're gonna like be into it or not, or just be like, no, I want to go home and it's cold or it's boring or whatever. You just, you don't want to push them into it.
yeah.
But that's pretty awesome that he's already like excited about it.
Oh yeah.
Um, but well, so last year we took Sway. I've taken Sway turkey hunting with me since he was 4. He's been, because for some reason, like I do better bird hunting midday, afternoons, evenings than I do in the mornings. And like my husband always has luck in the mornings, and I'm like, you know what? You go opening morning. I'll just take Sway and not expect to get a bird, but just take him with me. And so when he was 4 was the first year I took him, and it was fun. We didn't, we saw some turkeys, but we never got close to getting a bird because we weren't blind hunting or anything. I was just, scouting and, trying to see if we could get onto something. But we found morels, and it was exciting for him. We had a lot of fun. But last year he was 7, and it was his first year we took him turkey hunting. And my gosh, like I thought it was exciting. Turkey hunting is always exciting just personally, but he got his first turkey um opening day of youth. I don't know if we took him youth season or opening day. I think we took him youth season opening day. And that morning we had a tom. He wouldn't commit and come in. But it was still an exciting morning where like we had a hen come right up to our blind, like literally almost touching our blind, and we were surrounded by birds. It was great. But then we went and got lunch, went out that afternoon, and we had 2 toms come in full strut, and they
Oh
came
man.
in from such a distance. It was like I think we were all three of us were shaking because we were all in the blind. And it was like, I don't know if Sway was, he kept his cool, but me and Blake were like, oh my God, this might happen. And Sway had been, the thing is, like, he had been practicing so much. Like, he'd been shooting and practicing. Like, we wanted to make sure whenever it was his first hunt that he was ready, that he was going to be able to make an ethical shot. And man, he dropped that bird. It was cool. We had a 410 that he had gotten for Christmas that year. And like I said, he practiced and he did great. So this season, opening morning, this never happens for me. I'm like, of course it happens for him, but the bird, like first thing in the morning, this Tom, like flew down, came like straight in. We had another hen fly out, and I was like, I don't know how it's gonna go with this hen, but and there was like kind of a creek. So the hen and Tom were on the opposite side of the creek, and like he was there first coming right in, and I'm like, yes, this is gonna happen right away. Well, then that hen came, and I was worried she was gonna draw him away, but he ended up crossing the creek and coming straight to the decoy. And yeah,
wow,
we had to maneuver a little bit. I have a video posted on Instagram of the hunt where like the bird crossed, and like he was moving so fast we couldn't get a shot. We couldn't stop him. And so we had to, how the blind has like your posts and stuff, where he had like the gun was through one window, so he had to maneuver back and then over. And yeah, it got a little wild. We weren't expecting it, but
yeah,
he pulled it off. He pulled it off. So
I remember I did watch that video. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed that one.
Well, it's like me and Blake we're both whispering, and I'm like, I don't even know how Sway concentrates, because we're both like, do this, don't do this, do this. And it's like two chiefs in the blind. but he handled it really well. And yeah, he made a great shot. And yeah, so that was exciting. And then opening morning, my husband got his Indiana bird. We both hunted in Kentucky also. So I had already, I had gotten my bird in Kentucky, and then that weekend I ended up tagging my Indiana bird. So yeah, we had a really good season. It's been fun.
That's awesome.
I also took a friend out, but she lived a couple hours north of me, and it was a new property. We didn't have any luck, but it was fun. Like, I'm more interested at this point in just taking out a newbie and like trying to get them that experience and feel that excitement, like hearing those gobbles in the morning and then trying to chase the birds or call one in. And yeah,
it's funny how your focus or your drive just kind of shifts when you have a new hunter out there in the woods and you're trying to get them, settled in with a good experience or their first kill, whatever it might be. Very enjoyable, and just as, if not more, rewarding for the mentor, in my opinion, in those situations.
Yep, I agree. It is. It's almost better now. Like, in probably especially since I typically turkey hunt on my own, so I'm like, it's fun and it's awesome and it's exciting and I am shaking still, but it's wild. But like when it happens, I'm like, but all by myself, and that's different too. Like when you have somebody with you, or when they feel those things. I mean, I was with a friend last year. I took her, and I swear I was probably shaking more than she was. And even after she took the shot, after we had recovered the bird, I was still like, my heart was still pounding. It's just, yeah, it's different, but it's such a great experience. So yeah. I love it.
Yeah, we host a veteran hunt down here in Texas every year, and
nice.
It's been really cool. The first one that we did, we've done it 3 years in a row now. The first one we did was a guy that he'd hunted up in the Pacific Northwest his entire life. He'd never hunted whitetail in his life. So it was his very first whitetail hunt. So it was equally as exciting. And then the lady that we took this last year too, I think of the buck that she ended up killing from the blind and everything, and it was a big blind. We got to have, her and her husband and her hunt host, and I was running camera, like we all fit in there and everything. It was an awesome setup,
Wow.
but we're all getting jacked and we're all excited as we're watching this buck come in, and she's just trying to focus on the shot and kind of just telling us, "Hey, yelp, just shut up. Where's the deer at?
Chill
Just
out.
point me at the deer. So it was pretty cool just to watch everybody else's excitement, for somebody else that's
Yeah.
about to have that big moment. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's awesome. It's epic. Like it's things that you won't forget. It's memories you will not forget.
absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, it's moments that, shoot, I can't remember like what I did yesterday, but I can remember, this hunt that I was on with this person and what they said and what we did. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
cool.
it's awesome. I look forward to it. I look forward to getting my boy out there again this year. I don't know if he'll be the hunter this year, but certainly next year at the latest he'll be pulling a trigger.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
he's
I
excited.
don't rush it because it's like, well, also, well, it sounds like he's interested, like you
Yeah,
said, which is huge, but we've always been, let's not push it. If he wants to, if he shows interest in doing it, then let's go. But Sway hasn't deer hunted yet. This will probably be his first deer season, we're thinking. But we'll see. We'll see what happens when the fall comes. But
yeah.
like I said, he enjoyed turkey season a lot the past couple years. So
And forgive me
might
if
be
you already
time.
forgive me if you already mentioned it. How old is he?
He is 8. He just turned 8.
8.
So he was
Okay.
7 last year when we started. But and honestly, that's probably not older, but I have friends who they started their kids a little bit younger. Um, our reasoning behind it was we really wanted him to understand like that he was, you're still taking a life. It still needs to be respected. And I feel like kids reach a certain age where they understand it and it's more of a reality for them than just like pulling a trigger and shooting something, I guess.
Yeah.
But so yeah, 6, we honestly thought about it at 6, and because he'd been hunting, I've been taking him dove hunting. He's been a great retriever during dove season for years. But we went through that phase where like he was going in and picking up the birds and stuff and bringing them back, and it was nothing. Then we went through a year where he was like, "Mom, you hurt the bird." You know what I mean? Like they go through that where they realize,
Yeah.
no, this is a living creature that. And so then we have those discussions, and so it's all just kind of led up for us to where last year when he turned 7, we felt he was ready. And there was that moment, like we were excited, we were all screaming and yelling, um, and it was great. But we did have that moment where he kind of got upset, and he was like, he realized, and I think I mean, I feel like if you don't feel that moment of not, it's not even regret, it's just like, man, I did, it's not sad. I don't know how to explain it, but I always have that moment too where if I kill something and I go up to it, I'm like, oh, but at the same time, it's like, this feeds our family. We eat mainly primarily wild game.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, I think it's honestly a sign of respect. Like, man, this was a
Yes.
great animal. I'm sorry to have taken its life, but at the same time, you also have that euphoric feeling of, gosh, this was not easy. Like, I just did that and it's exciting. And at the same time, it's not going to waste. But yeah, so I saw him experience that last year. And and then he even said, I don't want to do this ever again. And then a couple hours later, he's like, okay. And then this year he was ready again. And he did. Whenever he walked up to that turkey this year, he had a moment where he just bent down and kind of like petted its feathers and stuff,
Yeah.
but he also helped us process it. And like he's been with us the whole, he knows how it works. And we also are big into like utilizing all that we can from our animals. So
Hmm.
there's just that respect that we're trying to instill in him, and I think that's important.
I agree. I know that time will come for for my kids too. It's not yet because we have a homestead down here, and we live on a couple
Yeah.
acres and have a couple cows and chickens and all that good stuff. And my 4-year-old daughter will tell anybody who comes over the house that that's our cow, Carter, and next year we're gonna eat him. So she's got no problem with it. So it definitely hadn't hit her,
Yeah.
and from what I can tell, it hadn't hit my son either. So, but that day will come.
It will, and it looks different like with everyone, I think. We have the same. We have honestly ours is a homestead. We raise sheep.
Okay.
So we have chickens and sheep. Um and so Sway's been a big part of, well, the chickens are his and he has to go collect the eggs and
Yep.
all of that good stuff. And then he's a big help with the sheep too, when it comes to lambing season and throughout the year. So
That's awesome.
I feel ya. Yep.
Yeah, it's a constant grind for sure.
Yep. Yes, it is.
So outside of Indiana, do you primarily just hunt locally there, or do you travel, hunt anything else anywhere else or anything like that?
I do. So I've actually been to Texas once.
Okay.
Twice. I apologize. Twice. So once was a sandhill crane hunt, and that was a really cool experience. Like, gosh, that was wild just listening to them in the mornings when it's like dinosaurs flying in. So that was cool. And then I've hunted Texas again on, it was a disabled children's hunt with an organization called Trinity Outdoors. So we took this girl who lives close to me. Her name's Jackie. She was injured in a gymnastics accident. So she actually, she didn't break her neck, but her spinal cord was compressed to where she's now paralyzed. So we took her and another kid down there, and they both got deer, and that was a really neat experience.
That's
Like,
awesome.
yeah, so it was cool. Other than that, I've hunted several states, more for waterfowl
Okay.
than anything, and I love waterfowl hunting. I can't say I'm good at calling or anything like that, but what I enjoy about it is I can just hang out in the blind with friends, and then the camaraderie there is like the best part about that for me. So I've hunted Arkansas, North Dakota. Let me see, where else? I hunted Oklahoma for turkeys. I've hunted, trying to remember. I went to Canada on a waterfowl hunt,
Oh wow.
which was really epic. Yeah, I was actually, it was with Savage Arms. We were doing, I was a mentor, so I took a friend who had never been on a waterfowl hunt, and we went up there. So if you're gonna experience it, I mean, that's one way to do it.
Yeah,
Our very
absolutely.
first our very first waterfowl hunt was in Canada. But yeah, other than that, I fish more states than I do hunts. But I've really gotten into catfish noodling. So for the past 5 years, that's one of my big loves.
So I was gonna ask you about that, because and this is coming from somebody I've never done that, and I honestly personally don't know if I will, just because I don't care for the water. And anybody over here at Fall Obsession will tell you how much I don't care for the water. Yeah.
Why? What is it about? What is it about the water?
I just I don't know. It's the unknown, I guess. Like I won't.
Is it like pools or just
No, like
rivers and ponds and stuff?
like rivers, ponds, oceans, that kind of stuff. That's my
Okay.
thing, and it's funny because like our staff manager over here at Full Obsession, he texted me the other day. He's like, "Hey, I got a hookup on what was it, a python hunt and some other fishing trip down in Florida," and I'm like,
Yes.
"Have fun, not for me."
No, that is my dream.
Are
It
you
really
serious?
is. Oh my God, Python hunt is like number one. Yes, I have been trying to go for 2 or 3 years. I was supposed to go with my buddy Josh. Josh Carney. I don't know if you follow him. He's a paraplegic, but he was in an unfortunate hunting accident. Now he's in a wheelchair, but him and I were dying to go on a python hunt. But I love snakes, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't do it. Well, I'll talk to Todd and we'll talk after, and maybe you
Tell
can have
Todd,
my seat.
tell Todd to give me a call if he has a space. If he needs somebody to come along, I am down. Tell him.
I will let him know. But no, all that is to say, I just it's I don't know. Water just has never suited me. But I wanted
Get
to
it?
ask you, since you have experienced noodling, what is your draw? What kind of captivated you with that?
So when I was in college, which was several years ago, I saw it was a Girls Gone Grappling or something, and where these girls were like getting in the water and getting bit by fish and pulling them out, and I was like, that looks so cool. I have always ever when I was a kid, I would explore creeks all the time and like catch crawdads and stuff like that. And yeah, so I just thought it looked fascinating. I'm like, I totally want to do that. Well, about it might be 6 years ago now. Alyssa Hall, she's down in Alabama. Her and I only knew each other from social media, and then we met at a trade show, and she was like, you know what, you should come down and go with me. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I did. I met her in Tennessee, and went on my first noodling trip, and yeah, I got hooked. I've been hooked since, and it's illegal in Indiana, so I can't even noodle in my own state. But you can in Kentucky and Illinois, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've really gotten into it. I've made a lot of friends. I take a group of girls every year. I take a group of 12 girls who've never gone before. Take them out in Illinois. So it's a good time. It's I don't know what's so addicting about it. It's just a rush.
Yeah.
And you can't really get that hurt, honestly. Like you can break a finger or wrist or something, but other than that, it's not, I've got some scars, but they heal real, like the catfish have like a sandpapery kind of mouth. I don't know, you've probably caught catfish before,
Yeah.
but so when they bite, sometimes they like to roll and stuff. And so, but honestly, it just feels like a sunburn for a little bit, and then it's, you're fine. So,
Yeah. So again, complete novice when it comes to that thing. On social media, you always see majority of the videos start where you've already found the fish, and whoever's noodling's about to go under and get them. How do you find them?
yes. Okay, so there's two different ways you can go. You can find natural holes, which I've done both. So natural hole, I had a buddy who he knew where lots of natural holes were because he would go and fill up the banks and stuff in different places and find the holes. So you can find them that way. They're usually like, there's holes in the lake. There's like, it's hard to explain because there'll be like, rocks. Between the rocks, there'll be, a hole where catfish will go in. And so what they're doing is when they're spawning, the male will go in and he'll make kind of a cave. And then the female will come in, she'll lay her eggs, and then he will stay and guard and protect the eggs until they hatch. So like, there's root beds, there's all, different types of holes, in the sides, typically of the banks of a river or a lake is where you're going to find those. Otherwise, people make their own boxes, and they'll put these boxes out in the water for the catfish. So then the catfish will go into those. And in those situations, those are safer because in a natural hole, there's always a chance that if there's an air pocket or something, there might be a turtle or a snake. For the most part, you're not going to find these, but you're definitely not going to find them in a box that you put out because, like I said, they have to have an air pocket. That's usually a huge concern for people is, what if there's a snake in there? Or what if there's a turtle and blah, blah, blah. And,
Yeah.
that's not something you're really going to find as long as there's not an air pocket. And even if there was a turtle, if you find a turtle in the hole, you're not going to find a catfish because catfish will actually especially if it's a blue or something. They'll even like crack a turtle shell. So they have a really strong bite. Um, but yeah, for the most part, whenever you see people who noodle generally fairly regularly, or people who guide, they have boxes that they have put out, and then the catfish go. And so what you'll find in the box is there'll be like a certain length and width, and then there'll be a hole in the front that they've cut out. And generally a hole in the back as well to help like coax the catfish up to the front if you can't reach it, you know, because your arm will only go so far. And sometimes the fish wants to bite. If it's a blue, it's probably definitely going to bite. Flatheads will typically bite like once or twice, and then they're done. They'll go hide in like the back of the box. So sometimes they won't even bite at all. But yeah, it's fun. It's just a neat experience, and it takes overcoming a lot of fears, you know, especially if you have a fear of going underwater or, I mean, you can't see, you're holding your breath, you can't see, you're sticking your arm in a hole. The first time's the most terrifying. And then you get more used to it. And then eventually you get to the point where like, it's not scary at all. You just go in and get after them. But yeah.
Yeah. What's the biggest fish you've ever pulled out?
Pulled out a 70-pound flathead.
Holy smokes.
It bit me. So this fish, it wasn't that deep. It was about 6 foot of water. So I could like on my tiptoes, I could barely get my face out of the water. And so I was on my tiptoes in the hole because you also have to block the hole because they'll try to blow out of it. So I had, another guy beside me helping me block the hole, and he was bigger and taller than me, but our feet were in this hole. This fish grabbed my foot and his foot at the same time and shook us like rag dolls. It was nuts. Like, he was huge.
Oh my.
He was huge, and he bit me all the way up to my elbow. I still have a scar from that fish. His name was Matt. He had been caught before. So another thing is we don't keep these fish because they're spawning. There's all those eggs. If that fish doesn't stay on the eggs within 24 hours, they can grow like an algae, and those eggs won't make it. So because the fish constantly, their tails are like constantly keeping the water flowing. So that helps them, grow and stuff. But anyway, so we put him back, but that fish had been caught 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row. I don't remember. But yeah, his name was Matt. Wow. He's a legend.
That's a big fish. Holy cow.
Yeah, he was huge.
That's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned the part about, you know, putting them back and the reasoning and the mentality behind that, because, you know, not that y'all aren't obviously enjoying and having fun out there, and like you said, it is an adrenaline rush, but it's you know, there's a purpose behind putting these fish back and everything, and you know, it's the future of that species is what it is. So that's awesome.
Exactly. And it takes, I forget what I read one time, how long I think it's like 10 years for a catfish to reach 25 pounds. So, and I might be wrong, I'll have to Google that again, but it takes several years for a catfish to even reach 25 pounds. So I can't imagine how old that fish was that I caught. You know what I mean? And and people say they can judge the age of the fish. I don't know what's true and what's not. I just know that those fish have been around for a while. And at the same time, a lot of it's genetics too. So like, we want to continue catching big fish. So you want to put the big fish back. Because I think, or what I've heard is a lot of times, you know, genetics have a lot to do with how big that fish will get as well. And people also say, well, big fish don't taste as good and blah, blah, blah. I've heard that's not true either. Like, catfish are delicious and it doesn't matter what size they are. But yeah, we definitely are very careful, and with the fish, we try to do no harm to them. Like, and then, you know, keep them reproducing, keep them producing fish for us. And also, you know, there are some, you know, it's not legal in all of the states, and different Fish and Wildlife in the state have reasons they won't. But personally, I think when people are putting out boxes, they're creating habitat for fish to spawn. So I think that really we're helping the fish more than harming the fish. But that's all debatable too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's illegal in Indiana, but I'm hoping that might change in the future. I don't know if it will or not, but we here in Indiana, we go noodling for snapping turtles instead. So,
Oh,
uh,
so how does that work?
so so I haven't, this would be my third year snapper noodling, I guess you would call it. I don't know. I've got some friends, they've been doing it for years. And they probably learned it from their parents who learned it from their parents. But what you do is we'll go up the creek banks, and there's a season for it in Indiana. But we'll go up the creek banks and we'll just feel for holes, just like you would for catfish hole. And then we find a hole. You stick your hands in. Typically, snapping turtles go in head first when they go into the holes. So you'll feel for the back of their shell and for a tail, and you'll pull them out by the tail. So
Interesting. Are they ever
yep.
in the opposite direction?
Sometimes, yeah. I have not encountered one, but what they'll do is they'll just grab them by the neck, pull them out real fast.
Okay.
Because you keep so the key is when you're going for snapping turtles, you keep your hand in the mud concealed more. So you're kind of protected, and also I go slow, so I'm trying not to be, you're not just shoving your hand in the hole, feeling around like I would for a catfish. I'm trying to get to bite me. Turtles, you don't want to bite
Right.
you, like, right? So you're keeping your hands down more in the mud and just kind of feeling around and trying to feel for what might be in that hole. Hopefully it's a turtle,
I gotcha.
not a muskrat or beaver or something like
Yeah.
that.
Interesting. See, I learned something tonight. I didn't know about all this, so
Yep,
educating
yep.
me over here.
It's a
Well,
good time. I know you don't like water, but
I
yeah.
don't know if I'll ever be the one in it, but I have a better understanding of it today for sure. I want to shift gears real quick, and I wanted to ask you about it's the American Daughters of Conservation. Is that what it's called? I wanted to
Yes.
ask you
Yep.
about that conservation organization that you're involved in and what you guys do over there.
Okay. So the American Daughters of Conservation, this started several years ago in Florida. And what it is, it's a women's organization. Our main goal is conservation and also educating women in the outdoors. So as far like so for example, guys, I just feel like not all men, but for example, my husband, he's grown up in the outdoors. He's got like a big community here locally with other men who do like deer camps, turkey camps, stuff like that. Like it's easy for him to find other guys around who want to hunt, want to talk about hunting, fishing, all of that stuff. For somebody like me, it's hard to find other women who have those interests. And so the American Daughters of Conservation kind of helps make that available. So um, through this organization, I've been able to meet other women locally who I had no idea were even here in my area.
Hmm.
And now I've made so many new friends. Like it's really connected me to people and brought up opportunities for me to and for them to like hunt or learn about this, or we put on these workshops, or go pull invasive species like plants out of local like state parks and things like that. Like um it's pretty cool. We're in several different states across the US. And our goal ultimately, so we have a yearly membership, veterans and nurses, um, what am I trying to say? Like police officers. We offer discounts for
Right.
different people. But then it's $40 a year to be a part of the organization. That money goes strictly to a land fund. So our goal is to buy land in all 50 states eventually. We have big goals, but
Yeah.
to buy property in different states to utilize for both conservation and for hunting and events like that for our
Wow.
members. So and also you get lots of discounts, like different discounts from organizations. We've got some great companies we work with that. But yeah, we offer so many different events like fly fishing. I put on a noodling event, like I said, every year, snow goose hunting, alligator hunt, like literally everything you can think of, we do. And it just makes it opens up those opportunities for women who would not have previously had them. So
Right. That's
I love
awesome.
it. I've been a member for years, and currently the state president, and I'm loving doing that too and working with my state. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
cool.
Is it through that you've referenced in this episode in our conversation a couple of times, like opportunities that you've had to be a mentor, in different situations and stuff? Is
Yes.
it through this organization?
Um, well, the one time I was, yes, anytime I've done mentoring, it's been through girls I've met through the American Daughters of Conservation. Even with, I did have the opportunity to go on a hunt with Savage Arms. They asked me to pick, somebody to mentor, and I had met her through
Right.
the ADC. So, but as far as that goes, like the girl I took turkey hunting this year, I met her through the American Daughters of Conservation, and there's always women who I find who are like, "Hey, I've never done this. I want to learn. I don't have anybody who to take me. Can you help?" And then you'll have a group of like 10 girls reach out and be like, "Yeah, I'll take you," or "Yeah, let's go," and giving advice. And we put on lots of workshops. Like I put on a turkey calling workshop here not too long ago. We have a local call maker here in Southern Indiana, Bill Keith. He makes some great turkey calls, and he actually made 80 some ADC calls that we sold on the website. But he put on a workshop, and I live streamed it for anybody who couldn't make it. We've done like a fishing lure workshop where they've taught us how to make soft plastics and stuff. That was really cool. Um, we do we do lots of different conservation efforts too, which are fun. We did a foraging walk where the one of the guys with the state park took us on a walk, showed us like what plants were available, how to use them, things like that. And then we ended by helping get rid of some invasive species there in the park, plants that were in the park. We've done cleanups. We've done it across the US. There have been so many different events and like workshops that are put on. And if you're a member, you're available. You can go to any of them.
Yeah.
So, it's really cool because I wouldn't have had those opportunities otherwise, and I wouldn't have heard of half of the things that they go and do. And some of them are just like, whether it's hiking, whether it's camping, whether it's a concealed carry class, whether it's hunting, whatever. We just there's so much out there, and it's made available through this organization. That's why I love it so much.
That's awesome. That and
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear you talk about that because we, over the years we have a ton of different guests on our show and everything and people that we get to interact with, and that for the ladies that we talk to, that's the most common thing that we hear across the board is just there's not very many people, doing what
Hmm.
I'm interested in doing or talking about what I'm looking for right here. So that's awesome that y'all have an organization that's able to offer that and bring that to the table. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah. And well, and like the women, I don't know, when people are like, "Oh, the girls event, that sounds terrible. Like I'm sure it was so much drama and blah blah blah." I have been to so many events with this organization, and it is literally just women making new friends. And then you'll see later they've gone on a hunt together, they've gone fishing together. They're in opposite states, like
Yeah.
they're all over the place. And they're now getting together, finding their own tribe or whatever through this organization, because of this organization, where they probably never would have met those people to begin with. So that's the cool thing. And it's personally, it's been like that for me too. That's how I met Delaney, like we were talking about. And I've met so many women who have just been awesome, and I love spending time with. And I've made some really, really great relationships and great friends because of it. So I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how the greater hunting community should be is,
Hmm.
you know, excuse me, reinforcing that within, our own masses, if you will, and being
Yeah.
able to maintain relationships and make those connections and we experience that with everyone within our own organization. We got roughly 30 people on staff over here across the country right now, and it's 30 people that probably wouldn't be hunting together or hanging out together or doing anything together otherwise. And
Yeah.
hunting in the outdoors brings like-minded people together, and
Hmm.
those are the relationships that we as just human beings need, I feel like. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and it's hard to find sometimes, depending on your location and different factors. So that's really cool. You totally get it then. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just great people. You find great people who, when you all enjoy the same things, especially when it comes to outdoorsmen. I mean, I've met just some fantastic people, not even through ADC, but period, just, through commonalities,
Yeah.
which is hunting and fishing and just enjoying being outside. So,
Yeah, I talked about it actually in a recent podcast on how you can, be the biggest introvert. I'm a little bit of an introvert, I guess, in some
yet you have a
circumstances.
podcast.
Yet I host a
Well, you're
podcast.
a great conversationalist. I will
Well,
say that.
uh,
You're
I
doing a great job.
I appreciate it. No, yeah, here I am, an introvert hosting a podcast and talking to people I've never talked to before. But no, where I was going with that is, you can be out doing whatever and no intent to talk to anybody, and maybe you got a hat or a shirt on or something that alludes to some hunting
Hmm.
thing, and next thing you know, there's another hunter walking up to you, talking to you, and
Yeah.
you're just, it's like you knew each other forever, and that's an example of what this community is and what it should be. So
Yeah.
I
I
want.
agree with that's happened to me so many times
Oh
with
yeah,
just with the hat somebody's wearing. I'm like, oh, you're like a part of that, or you know that, or yeah, I love this company or whatever.
yeah. I've had people at restaurants, at the airport. I wore a camo jacket on an airplane one time, and this guy that was uh actually he was some sort of rep for that camo company that I was wearing. He walked up to me and started talking to me and everything. I was like, "What are the chances, man? We're in Phoenix Airport over here."
Seriously. No kidding. That's wild. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
It's cool.
I love it. Well, I got a couple questions that I like to ask all of our first time guests on our show before we start to wrap up our conversation. Over the years, we've called them our hot seat questions or our rapid fire questions. I don't really call them anything anymore because
God, the pressure.
no,
Okay.
because it's good conversation is all I see it as. But the first one is, tell us about one of your favorite hunting or outdoor memories to date.
Oh, I feel like I've already talked about it
I
because
know, and maybe we have, but
all right, let me think here. Oh, I've got so many, but then my mind blanks. Definitely my favorite was, Sway's first turkey. That
oh
was
yeah,
number one. Um, but I guess one of my favorite outdoor memories was when I was a kid. This is the first one that popped in my head.
yeah,
My papa Hunter, I was fishing with him. I was probably like 5. And I was bored. We weren't catching very many fish. And I was just sitting there getting kind of bored. And he was like, Allison, you have to make a face. You got to make a face at the water to scare the fish onto the hook. And so then I did. I made a face. I made a face at the water. Like, sure enough, immediately my bobber went under because I was fishing with a, worm and bobber. Caught a bluegill like right away. Oh, it's so fun. Yeah, that's
wow,
definitely one memory I've got that I like to keep close.
that's awesome,
So,
very cool. Well, the other question I have, and you already mentioned one of them. We talked about that, but your bucket list for hunting. What's at the top of that bucket list? Stuff that you want to do you haven't gotten to go do yet.
okay, so this one will probably surprise people because a lot of people have like, big game on their list. I've always been, I don't know, there's something special about small game. And maybe it's because I grew up like going with my dad on quail hunts, but my number one bucket list hunt, to be honest, is a dove hunt in Argentina. I'm just
Wow.
I'm just dying to go.
Yeah.
I want to do it. Not only because I want to see and explore Argentina. I've traveled a lot. I've traveled all over the place, but um, I just think it would be so much fun. And that's, yeah, number one. And I love dove season anyway, but yeah, Argentina dove hunt is top of my list.
That would be really cool for sure.
Yeah.
That is, I think for anybody that's passionate about just bird hunting or small game,
Mhm.
like you mentioned, that's on there somewhere. I think if they haven't gotten to do it already. So
Yeah. I love it all. And like, I'd love to go on a stag hunt in New Zealand or, I mean, gosh, there's just moose, elk. I've been elk hunting out in Colorado and didn't fill my tag. So like, I'd love another shot at that too. That's, up there on my bucket list. But yeah, dove hunt in Argentina.
yeah,
Caribou's up there. I don't know.
It-
I've got like, there's a lot I want to get after, but yeah,
no,
dove hunt in Argentina is my number one.
yeah, I feel that it seems like it's an endless list. Caribou for me as well. That's my number one. I would, that's a once in a lifetime for me. But yeah, it,
Yeah,
it
it'd
can
be
go on and
awesome.
on.
Gosh, I know. I'm with you.
Well, Allison, I really appreciate you coming on our podcast and talking with us this week. It was awesome to get to know you a little bit and, I don't know, just lay back and talk hunting in the outdoors. I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much, like I said, for reaching out to me and inviting me to be a part of it. I've enjoyed talking to you too. I'm always, happy to talk hunting and fishing anytime. I don't get to
Absolutely.
do it enough. So,
For sure. Real quick for our listeners, tell folks where they can find you.
okay. You can find me on Instagram at amhunter11. Facebook, it's Allison Hunter Voges. That's Voges. And then I will do a quick plug for my books. You can find
Yeah.
those on Amazon. The paperbacks are on Amazon. Hardbacks you can find on Etsy. So,
Awesome. And what about the conservation organization? How if
oh yes,
anybody's
yes.
listening that wants to get involved in that?
Yep. So our website, we're on Facebook as the American Daughters of Conservation. Our website is adconserve.org. So adconserve.org.
Awesome.
It's there. Yep. Feel free to shoot me a DM, anybody too. I'm happy to answer any more questions anybody has. So,
Awesome. Well, folks, be sure that you go follow along and check out everything that Allison just mentioned. And thank you again. Really appreciate it.
welcome.
All right, guys. Thank you all for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast. I'm back with you guys again next week, and I'll catch you then.